Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. This first Tuesday in October, we are meeting and gathering for our Power Parenting session for this month. Um, Power Parenting. Power stands for Parents Overcoming with Wisdom, Education, and Resources. And we are so privileged today to have with us Darren Kennedy. She is our special guest for today on this topic. And our topic for today is advocating for your team. Um, these sessions are hosted by Olive Tree Resources, which is your training and counseling partner for teens, and families. And every month when we come together, we join forces with other individuals who have a passion, as well as parents who have teens, so that we can focus on subject matters that relate to teens and teen parenting, because that is a very integral time, transitional time, a lot of times a very difficult, strenuous time for a lot of teens. And we want to make sure that they have what they need to navigate that season of adolescence. And as parents, because it is so trying for us as well, because we're trying to figure out what happened to my 5-year-old baby, to my 15-year-old who is no longer a baby, but is now moving into young adulthood. They're a little more closer to young adulthood than they are to those times where Darren and I were talking before we jumped on, where we can just pick them up and love them and carry them to the car. We can carry them to the next destination, and love on them that way. Unfortunately, we can't do that anymore. And they probably wouldn't let us. They'll be really, really embarrassed if we even tried to pick them up. They will be very embarrassed. They're embarrassed to hug us right now, at their age, sometimes in public. They're not to kiss them in public. It's like, no, mom. So things definitely have changed, and we want to make sure we talk through what that looks like for us as parents to be a support to each other. We know it's not a cookie cutter process, but when we talk, we can glean from each other. We can gain the wisdom and share the wisdom we have. We can provide educational resources, and share those components with each other to strengthen our family and our children. So I'm going to ask Darren just to kind of share with us a little bit about yourself. We would love to know a little bit about you. You are a wonderful person. I thank you for joining me this evening. To talk on this subject. So we're going to start out, if you would share with the people a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. I am super pumped to always sit in this. Well, we're not in the same room, but we're like in the same space right now. Anytime I can be with a friend like you, it's a privilege to me. And I'll leave here taking away things too. So I have been a teacher for going on, I just passed 20 years. I've taught in public school, I've taught in homeschool, and now I've got one in public school and 2 homeschools still. I have a 15-year-old, a almost 13-year-old. She would want me to say almost 13-year-old. She is not 12. She's almost 13.
Yeah.
And a 9-year-old. And we're just trying to figure it out together. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's how it works. Definitely. When you mentioned that about your children, I was thinking, you have 2 teens essentially.
Yeah.
Right now, you have 2 teens, and one quickly approaching that at 9. How fast time flies.
Right.
You don't even want to think about that though for your 9-year-old.
I do and I don't. Like, it's bittersweet. Like, I have treasured every stage, but I don't miss that when it's gone. Does that sound terrible? Like, I loved them when they were babies, and it was fabulous, but I don't miss that they're not babies. I'm excited what's coming down the road next.
Yes. And to see them evolve in their own personal personalities coming out, the things that they're passionate about, starting to see that is really exciting for me to see
Yes.
that happen. My daughter, she is 13, about to be 14. And to see her grow the way that she's growing is very exciting for me, especially her being the youngest with 2 boys. because her demeanor is so different,
Yeah.
because she was raised with two older brothers
Right.
who wants to rough her up
Right.
and tease her and things like that. And
Yeah.
she's had to kind of get a little toughness being around them. And so
Yeah.
sometimes that is kind of mistaken or misconceived by people,
Yeah.
in her, even her facial expressions and things that she does. And
Hmm.
I had to share with someone recently. I was like, well, you have to remember she's the youngest and she has two older brothers.
Right.
I had to our topic today, and we can go ahead and lean into that topic. I had to advocate for her, um, even to and with an adult. I had to advocate for my daughter in that situation,
Mm,
because she was being labeled or perceived as, standoffish, or she's
mhm.
non-emotional. And when I shared that point with that person, I wasn't mean. I didn't even necessarily have to say it in a rough way. I
Yeah.
just said, you might want to think about that. She's the youngest, and her two older brothers, that there is like a span gap there. So
Yeah.
she's had to kind of grow up in an environment that made her a little tough.
Yeah.
Uh, so maybe, that's why she's as competitive as she is when it comes to sports. They've pushed her to be that way. I
Mhm.
remember she used to cry all the time, and they would be like, why are you crying all the time? Because the boys and girls are different. So
They
they would
are, man.
tease her and get on her for crying so much. And no doubt that made her tougher. That made
Right.
her, okay, I'm gonna suck it up because my brothers are gonna tease me, or my brothers are gonna get on me. So
Right.
now that they're older, they're gone off to college, she still has that type of demeanor about herself. And some people can kind of be cruel about that or misconceive
Oh,
who she
yeah.
is.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
she is. She's so sweet, but I could see why somebody can look at her sometimes and be like, "Well, she shows really no emotions," but I understand why. So we have to advocate. That's what we're talking about today,
Right.
advocating for our teen, and allowing people to see the trueness of who they are. So let's dive into even sharing, a situation or time that you felt like you maybe had to advocate, um, for your two teens, or you can share maybe one situation or both of them at a particular state.
Hmm. My oldest, he made the transition from homeschool to public school this past year, and I'm sure I'm the only one who does this, but like I really felt the Lord called us to do it somewhere around December, January timeframe. Like I could really see it. It had been a really hard year. We needed to make some changes for going into the next year. And I I didn't drag my feet, but I didn't get on it and make the phone call as soon as I should have. And by the
Yeah.
time that it was urgent in my heart that this was what needed to happen in our home, it was on the last week of school. So it was a horrible time for us to do it for them. So huge shout out to New Albany High School because they've been amazing. Like from the very first time we met with them in that super busiest week of their whole school year, they've been phenomenal. But there was a lot going on there, and I knew that going on, like to try to get him in, get him registered, get him in classes.
Mhm.
Like I can't even imagine how many emails they were getting, and I had to really push to make sure my inbox or my name was at the top of their inbox every day to make sure it happened. And then I wanted him in the Bulldog Scholars program, but he hadn't, he didn't attend a public middle school. So
Mhm.
we had, I didn't have to push hard. But I had to talk to the right people, and that's part of advocating too, is knowing who can make the wheels turn. And but it's been a great experience for us all around, and we're so glad that it worked out.
Yeah. No, that's really good that you brought up the point about knowing who to contact and knowing, kind of where to go. So sometimes when we know that we have to advocate for our team, it's okay. Sometimes it's a research project for us that we search out. And it's sometimes even a networking project for us as parents, that we have to network. We're asking questions. Who knows who and who can potentially connect?
Right.
I had a really good sister of mine who had shared a situation about her child at their school, and there was a situation that was somewhat traumatic for the child that made the parents say, "Listen, I need to make a transition
Mhm.
swiftly." Because the situation demanded that.
Mhm.
And that person researched where they needed to contact the appropriate
Mhm.
individual to make that hardship transfer. And like 2 days later, the child was in another school,
All
and it
right.
was very much needed.
Yeah.
And so that was good. And it took her taking that time to do that, but it was well worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well worth it. So we want to encourage the parents who may need to make certain transitions for their child, to begin to kind of look at that now. Where, who, and when, and where do you need to talk to certain people to make sure you're advocating for your teen, your child? What do they need right now? And if that is another school or another space for them to learn more effectively and peacefully, then
Right.
that's okay as well. Make sure that you're being diligent about that, um, so that they can have their needs met. That's important. I want you, if you don't mind, can you share, even for parents who are watching and maybe watching later, the difference or some advantages to homeschooling and public schooling? And there may be some parents right now watching who say, "I've been thinking about homeschooling my child."
Sure.
Let's help them. And there may be some parents who now are homeschooling who have honestly been thinking like you, I think it's time for my child to transition
Yeah.
into public school. They've been homeschooling for X amount of years. So can we share and talk about that for those parents?
Sure. I definitely think there are advantages to both. I've never been, from the beginning, not a fan of public school. I am a fan of public school. I was a teacher in public school. I came through public schools. I am not opposed to public schools. Um, at the time, it just wasn't the best fit for our family, because of just, I don't know. It wasn't the best fit for our family. So I knew from the beginning that we were going to start the homeschool out and see. And every year we reevaluate, like,
Yeah.
what's the next year going to look like? What's the next year? I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know what next year is going to look like. We take a look at this year, see how, and if we can make improvements here, that's great. If it's something that's bigger than what I can do, then we need to make some big changes. Some advantages I see in homeschooling, or I have full control of my kids' curriculum. I know exactly what's being said to them. I know exactly how they learn, and I can reach my kinesthetic learner the way he needs to be reached.
Mm,
I have one kiddo she does super great in math, and reading is a little harder for her, and I can take her to 8th grade math, even though she's in 7th grade, and
mhm,
keep her in 7th grade. I can adjust her curriculum for her. Um, for our family, I love that I can bring the Lord into our school here at home.
mhm,
Um, what else? There are lots of scheduling for homeschooling is super easy in Indiana. You just pretty much have to make your 180 days. There's not a certain number of hours. There's not a certain curriculum you have to use. But then on the flip side of that, that's a lot of pressure, because I want my kids to be able to be where they need to be. I need them progressing
mhm,
and learning multiplication. And you got to know multiplication to be an adult, like to be a functional adult. And so they may not like it, and it's not always easy. And I would say that's one of the disadvantages, is that when I was a teacher, I would say, we're doing the 3 multiplication tables, and I very rarely got pushed back. And here, it starts in the morning. We're not doing 3 multiplication tables today, are we? And they're trying to break you down, like, from
yes.
advantages of or public schooling that I've seen this year is, I think some kids are just wired for that. I really do. I
Mhm,
think there's a time and place, and the social aspect of it. There's a lot of misnomers about homeschooling. There, you can definitely get social activities from there. There was competitive soccer. There was you just have to create it. And
Yeah.
in public school, it's been great for him to be able to join a club, or they started a little breakfast group, and to be able to for those things to be more organic for this particular kid. And I think every kid is different. Like
Every kid's different.
you got to look at each kid, and I don't know that all my kids will go to public school. I don't know that they won't. Like at this point, we just kind of take it year by year. But I see the change in my oldest son and know that that was the right move for him.
For him.
So
Yeah. And that's good to even note that there is potentially a time frame where, like you said, it depends on each child, where homeschooling is significant for them.
yeah,
And then you just are aware of when that transition is needed.
yeah. And
To
there are lots of very successful kids who've been homeschooled all the way through
the whole
high
time.
school. Like people can do it. It just
Yeah.
wasn't right for my kid, and that's
Mhm.
okay. Like it is. It's okay. It doesn't mean I failed, because
Yes.
I didn't fail. We just had to make an adjustment.
Yeah, no, that's really good. So even advocating for our teens, and our children as they're growing up, knowing when we have to make those adjustments, that is important. That is a part of that advocacy part, is knowing when and where I have to make the transitions for them, depending on how they're maturing and growing. I looked up advocacy, and any of us could do this, but I just thought it was really good to just highlight the points that advocacy is a support or a recommendation for a particular cause. So we are supporting the cause of our children. We're supporting and recommending certain avenues for them because they're leaning on us to help guide them.
Mhm.
So when we say advocacy, and when I bring up advocacy, I want us to make sure that even as parents, that we don't allow life to bog us down so much that we don't have enough support left to support them,
Right.
because they need us in a tremendous way right now. They really, really do. They need us to even help them recalibrate, like our cars. When we need a front end alignment, you can tell when your alignment's off.
Right.
The things that they've encountered in the last 12 to 18 months have really thrown some things off alignment for them. So we have to, I mentioned to a really good friend today, we have to reclaim their time, even
Right.
because they have been in this space for all these months. And let's just be honest, friends. Sometimes we was like, okay, well, go ahead and be on your phone because I don't know
Right.
what to do. I mean, really, I mean, we didn't know what to do. We were so bogged down ourselves and in shock of what was happening that we just said, hey, I mean, my daughter had so many meltdowns last year that I was just like, we just got to let her be on the phone. I don't know what else to do to help her
Right.
gain what she needs, and help that social interaction because they were not having it. We
Right.
were not having it as a society.
Right.
So
Control. Like too.
yeah,
I
so
know
now,
I can control. Like I can't control anything else, but I
mhm,
can control this little
mhm,
screen.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So now we have to rethink that, even though we allowed it at that time, and that was needed probably for that time. Now we need to rethink it and get an alignment going, to readjust them, back into, a mind and a state where they can progress and move forward, from even what we've encountered. And that's advocacy too. We're advocating for them to say, this is for your best interest. We're providing support. And then it goes on to say that advocacy is an action. So it does take work. And I know it's difficult for us, especially when you have long days and you're
Right.
thinking, okay, I still have to then lend some time to see where they are. Something Darren and I talked about before we came on, and anybody can chime in on this one because you can probably relate. When you're trying to talk to them, it's like you're pulling, you're pulling, you're pulling. They're not giving you anything back. How do we advocate there? Let's talk about that, Darren. Like, how do we begin to navigate and help our teens when they're not articulating to us what's going on, because that's frustrating. It makes you mad.
It totally does. Phew, that's a tough question, and I don't know the perfect answer for every time. Like, it's a trial and error, I think, and you have to be not afraid to keep trying. You have to keep trying. Um, the I was telling you, the thing that I have had to manage my personal self is I have to be able to manage the quiet. Like, you didn't want to talk about it. All right, there is a reasonable amount of time where I can let you not talk about it. Like, but I have to be clear with him. Like, you can you go ahead and do what you're doing in your head, but we're gonna come back here at 9 o'clock tonight. That seems to be like teenage talk time. I don't know if it's the way it is in everybody's house, but teenage talk time at my house starts when I'm put on my pajamas to go to bed. Like, it's like they watch me. They're like, oh, she's ready for bed. It's time to go talking to mom, which is great. And I know that. And I try to take advantage of that as much as I can. But we're coming back to, like, you can have your quiet.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be back. Like, we have an appointment at 9 o'clock. I'll see you in the living room. I'll bring the hot chocolate. We're not done here.
Yes.
There's more.
Yes. No, I like that. That's a note for all of us. I wrote it down because I'm going to use it. That's a good one. A reasonable amount of time for your silence. So let's even think about that sometimes when our young people are having those moments where they're not really ready to share or they don't want to talk about it. If we set some standards and expectations for them to say, hey, acknowledge, I like what you said because you acknowledge it. Okay, I recognize you're being silent right now. Okay, but I'm going to give you a reasonable amount of time and I'm going to manage the silence right now. But we're going to get back together tomorrow at 5.
Right.
Give them a time frame. It's actually healthy to do that because then that will allow them time to process and to filter through what they're really feeling so they can have that conversation with you. And sometimes they feel like they can't really say it, but if we acknowledge it, that we recognize what's going on, that can maybe help kind of crack the door. It may not open the door.
No.
It won't open the door, but at least it will crack the door so that they can begin to feel comfortable talking to us. This one piece of hair, my goodness, sorry. It was annoying me. It was annoying me. I'm like, get out of here. Okay. This is live. That's how you do it. So for them to have those moments of silence, we have to recognize that, yes, that's a true thing. It's real. It happens for them. We do it as well. I like something you said too, that sometimes we have to alter our schedule, and that's hard.
Oh, it is.
Because I want to.
I do.
Yes. That's difficult. But sometimes we have to alter our schedule in the sense that when I'm ready to go to bed and they want to talk, this is what we have to try not to do, parents. And I've done it, and I've had to apologize to my daughter. She'll come, and it is like 10, 9:30, 10 o'clock. You're in your PJs, and you're relaxing, and they're wanting to talk. And I found myself, I'm going to just tell myself,
yeah.
So what? It's kind of like,
are you kidding me?
What'd you say?
Right.
Yeah. And then I've noticed it kind of hurt my feelings one time because I did that to her because I was unwinding and I was unwinding and it was kind of like a snappy, like, huh? What'd you say? Like, what? And she was like, nothing. I created the silence.
I think we all have done it.
I know. But after I thought about it, it really made me feel bad because I knew that my reaction to her wanting to talk, and I was thinking, I've been here all this time and you want to talk.
Yeah.
Right. But we have to adjust sometimes to let them. And maybe that was just the time she felt comfortable to come and do that. So it made me more self-aware. When she comes later at night, I try to make myself more available to still be present to hear.
Right.
Yeah. To advocate for her and what she is dealing with. Let's talk about sports real quick because this is a good one. How do we advocate for our teens in sports when they're involved in activities and they have to submit themselves to a system? Because every coach has a system.
Yeah.
How do we help advocate for them? And we know sometimes as parents, sometimes, to be honest, sometimes the system they're in, we don't even like it.
Right?
We're irritated.
It's true.
Look, we're sitting in the stands like,
Mm. Yes. I'm familiar with that. Yes.
yes. So when that is happening for us, and when our kids are in different clubs, activities, sports, how can we advocate for them? Especially if they're coming to us with maybe something they've dealt with on the team, with the coach, with another player. How do we kind of work with that?
Shoot, it's tricky. It's super tricky, I think. With my like the way we manage it with my teen and the way we manage it with my 9-year-old are not the same. With our teen, we're talking to him on how to talk to your coach. Like, you have to advocate for yourself here, because if I go in, it needs to be super serious. Like, I'm happy to do that, but it needs to not be our first line of defense. You need to go first. And it's hard to be 15-year-olds and talk to your coach and about something that's bothering you, whether you want more playing time or whatever. Like, we've been super fortunate this year, so like nobody's shooting me emails about. We've had a great experience playing sports at school, so we've not had one iota of trouble. But it is important, I think, to start, even when they're little, not talking about their coach negatively in front of them. They've got to respect their coach. Like, even if you don't necessarily agree with them, you got to respect them. Like, even can we apply that to adults? Like, you don't have to like our president. You don't, but you got to respect them. It's the same thing. We got to translate that starting when they're little. Don't talk negatively about your coach. And then how to talk to your coach. Like, hey, like, assume the coach wants the best for you, because more than likely they probably do. More than likely. There's times where they may not. And that's when mom comes in. Like,
that's right. That's when you bring in the reinforcements.
Yes.
To help, after they've done their due diligence of going, and it helps them to develop. It helps them to grow as a leader. Okay. So even all the parents, that are watching or will watch, you recognize that in some shape, form, or fashion, your child is a leader. So even when we're giving those teaching moments, even through sports, which is a great life skill development platform for them, we can use that. That brings up communication. So then to think about, how am I going to go approach my coach? How am I going to say this? They're thinking, critical thinking skills. All those things are developed when we push them to do that. Because same here, like even with our sons, when they play throughout high school, no, you're going to go talk. You're going to advocate for yourself. Speak up. Don't be silent. You're pushing them, and that's still that support system that we're striving to give them. Even when it comes to the extracurricular activities that they're involved in. It actually is a great time to even allow them to have kind of like those practice moments. Yes. Because if they mess up, wouldn't we rather them kind of mess up while they're still with us? Yes. Opposed to when they leave home and they're out into the workforce on their own, and they have their first conflict on their job.
Right. And then they're like, what
do I do?
Right.
So we would rather them, welcome that. Don't allow that to be a negative. Welcome that for them to go through things when they're in our nest. Because then that lends us opportunity, time, space to teach, love on them, nurture them, guide them, give them wisdom, education, and resources. That is power. That's what we're talking about. That is power. That's power parenting. We want to give them wisdom, education, and resources while they're with us.
Right.
So when they leave us, not only do we feel some sense, as parents, we're always going to feel the concern for our children, but we'll feel a little level of confidence because we're like, oh, damn, he'll be fine. We've tackled that in 11th grade. Or, Ayana, she'll be good, because we had a situation like that before. And you just feel a little bit more confident because you were able to give some input.
Yeah.
while they were with us. Because
Yep.
who's to say when they get older that they would even come to us and tell us?
Right.
At least when they're in the home, I mean, we can even sense things when they don't say anything. We sense it.
Absolutely.
We sense it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And even
Yep.
like you said, the good part, about, being a praying mom is sometimes God will like give you things and help you have that discernment there to be like, something's just a little off right now with your
Yeah.
son or your daughter.
Yeah.
That's
I
a
don't know
good
what your
thing.
story is, but we're gonna figure it out. Like
Hmm.
it's the truth. I have two super literal kids. Like they're just very literal. We have one, we called him Captain Literal since he was like 3, because you gotta just say it. It has to be exactly what you mean. There's no, he's getting better as he gets older because my husband and I are both kind of sarcastic people. And that's hard for a literal kid to get that kind of humor. But we have to role play. Like I'm the coach, what are you going to say? Here we go. Role play. It seems silly.
No,
And they
it's
don't like
good.
it. They don't like it at all. They're like, Mom,
Yeah.
this is dumb. Like, it may be dumb, but this is what we're doing.
That
Like,
is so good. Yes. Role play. That's another good point. Tonight. So you're giving us some good nuggets tonight. Thank you. Thank you. Role play with your children. You allow them to talk, speak, act out through what they would say or do in a situation in your presence. And then you're able to critique and give them constructive criticism and ways they can, do it a little better. And they may be like, oh, here we go again. And, they roll their eyes and they do all that stuff.
Like
But
outside.
yeah, but it's still planting a seed. It's still planting a seed with them so that they can have something to draw from when they literally go through that situation or they encounter it. They can pull from those moments that you allowed them to have the role plays. We used to, because my husband's very, he's the humor in the family, and I love that because it helps us relax and just not be where I'm just so serious. Let's do this and then. It's like, no, we're gonna have fun, we're gonna relax. And he'll just do silly stuff just to make them laugh or do things like that. And so when they were younger, we used to jokingly but seriously role play like kids teasing them. So before my children got braces, we teased them because unfortunately they just have big teeth.
Yeah.
And we say it now and we laugh about it. We were like, sorry, because I had braces.
Yeah.
I had an overbite when I was younger. I got that from my dad. And like my 2 front teeth was like overlapping. It was horrible because in middle school I was like didn't have on a smile. I always covered my mouth because I didn't like my teeth. And my husband's teeth are humongous. Can't help it. So they have 2 disadvantages here. I had an overbite and crowded teeth, and he has big teeth. So it's like you all were born with a disadvantage. It's like
sorry.
Yeah, sorry. You all didn't ask for this, but you all got it. So what we did is, lo and behold, my oldest son had a lot of crowding. A whole bunch of his teeth were just on top of each other. And so all of them had to have braces. Well, when my boys were younger, we would do things like, oh, look at you, buck teeth, big teeth. Don't smell. I mean, we would do it at home.
Right.
So that they can get used that if someone teased them at school, we're like, whatever. What are you talking about?
Right.
And we would give them responses. So that when you said that, made me think about that. Yeah. We would role play. So when you said that, I didn't realize. I mean, actually, that's what we were doing because my husband was teasing, but we would literally be like bringing that up so that they can feel comfortable with what they perceived as something that wasn't as lovely about themselves.
Right.
And so my son would get to the point where he would say, well, hey, God made me this way. So this is what, I mean, just different comments that he could brush off any bully, any,
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So sometimes you got, because they know you love them. So even if you're teasing me like, hey, this is what you say to these people. If they bring that up about you, you say this because you're beautiful. You're smart. I mean, you give them that affirmation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So that's maybe something that we could do as well, like highlight those things that you know that they probably don't like about themselves and give them responses to it.
That's
And
good.
then give them affirmation
Mhm.
afterwards. And that's a form of advocating for them because you're giving them support pre any incident that may occur.
Yes.
So they're not caught off guard,
Yep.
because if they get too hurt, you might have to intervene on another level.
Right. It's a whole different advocacy right there.
It can go to a whole nother level.
It
Really.
can.
Yeah. Yeah. So then it won't be just the kid involved because it may end up being the other family, the other parent.
Right.
If it gets to a certain level, then we advocate to that level as well.
Absolutely.
So what does that look like too for you as far as advocating with other parents? How do you do that with your teens in relation to maybe some of their friendships, um, or maybe even some situations potentially that they've encountered that may have escalated to where you had to go speak to another family, good or bad? It doesn't have to be a bad situation.
Um, I always try. I don't know. That's a great question. That wasn't on the list. That's a
I
good
know, I just
question.
thought of that one. I just thought of that one. Yeah, just
It
how do
was
we
a
do
good
that?
one.
How do we advocate with other parents? Because I think one thing we need to revisit as parents is how to come together a little more,
Yes.
and talk and share. So even our kids and trust each other as well, so that
Right.
our kids don't feel like they're getting by with things.
Right. It's
Okay,
true.
because my children know that I talk to you. So when
Yes.
they hook up, then you're not going to sneak, or you're not going to feel like you're
Nope.
hiding anything, because we talk
Yeah. That's good.
and we share.
I think that's the answer. I think you just said it. I think it all starts with a relationship. Like, I need to know my kids' friends. I need to know my kids' friends' families. Like, whether it's we get to know each other in this, like the soccer stands. Like,
Hmm.
I try to make like I try to make a point to, like, I just met one this last week. I met I think it'll be okay because it's a good story. My
Hmm.
son met a boy named JJ on the very
Hmm.
first day of summer school, at the very first day of public school, and JJ made a huge impact on him because he
Right.
was so kind and so inclusive. And then we found out JJ was on the soccer team. Well, this very last week, the Lord put me right in front of JJ's dad. So I'm like, here's the story. And that gave us a great connection. And it gave me an opportunity to develop a relationship with him by telling him something great and awesome that his kid did that he may not have known. And so I hope that opened the door a little bit between our families to where we can have that communication. Like, if something were to go wrong, I think things are going to go wrong. That's just life, right? We
Yeah.
live in a broken world and it stinks and things are going to go wrong. But if we are looking out for each other, I think that makes the world a better place.
Yes. Yes. That is so good. Yeah, I think that's important for us to be able to communicate and have that relationship. And once we do that, we're able to even share values
Yes.
as parents. And when we share values, then we should uphold and then advocate for each other as parents. So if I know, Darren, you don't tolerate a particular thing, I may feel like it's fine. But if I know that you don't tolerate a particular thing, I should uphold and support what your value is, so that when your children are with me, they still have the same standards and values upheld.
Right.
You
And I'm
know,
not going to talk bad about you because your values are different than mine. Like,
yes,
that's okay. Like, it
that is
really is.
okay.
We are not made to be all the same. We're
Hmm.
made to believe different things. But just because you believe differently doesn't make you less than me. Like,
Yes,
it's just different. And that's okay.
that is okay. That is very much okay. And that's the good. When we begin to do that, we begin to even show our teens how to build healthy relationships, but not feel like they have to be cloned.
Right.
That everybody does have their differences in beliefs and standards and things like that, but we're able to still respect each
Yes.
other. when we're in each other's presence, and there are certain things that we know that you don't tolerate and vice versa, that we're not going to try to disrespect each other. So
Right.
that's a good point, I think, even in advocacy, for them and training and teaching them those things. If we were to help parents who are even going to view and who are joining us, thank you all who are joining us. We appreciate it. Um, we would like for you all to comment in the comment section, and we'll share as well. If you could share some resources that you may think benefits parents who have teens, nonprofits, different organizations in the community, drop all of those in the comment section for us so that we can begin to share and let people know what is out there. It could be local organizations, wherever you are, wherever you live. You can also put whatever city, state the particular organization is in. If they have a website, drop the website in there because we want to share resources. And then if you want to share some that have been integral for you in your process and building your circle for your children, that will be helpful as we're talking and sharing.
Well, sure. I think that's a huge part of parenting. Advocating for your kid is finding people to bring into your circle who become your family. So, because like, I don't know, let's just face it, like, they're not always going to want to talk to me. They're not. And even if we set the 9 o'clock appointment, I bring all the hot chocolate, I still may not get it. There's going to be times where they're going to be looking for someone else. And it's my job to make sure that there are those people in our circle they can go to, whether I think a big one is our church, whether it's from our church or from like some. You want me to start dropping my favorites?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. Please do. Please do. Give your this piece of her, I'm sorry. Give your church a shout out too, for real.
Oh, I do. I'm loving the New Birth Church of Louisville. So hello, New Birth Church of Louisville. You guys have been integral to our family and have changed our lives. And I think it was the beginning of a catalyst of huge changes that have come into our family in the last 2 years. Just the people that have come, unreal, unbelievable. That's a whole nother podcast. So, but it just, the transformation, I think, in the last 5 years that our family has gone through, it started from people from church. We love Bea, beautiful as you are, for our daughter. If you have a teen daughter, 6 to 18, you need her in that program. Every Saturday, they do littles, the 6 to 11-year-olds in the morning, and then 12 to 18-year-olds in the afternoon. It will change their life. Self-empowerment. You're going to bring some of the most wonderful people into your circle that you could ever imagine. They build up my daughter in ways that it's, Tish Frederick, you are my hero. That's all I've got to say. I love you.
Yes. Yes. I'm definitely, I'm putting their website into the comment section as well. So please, if you have a daughter, go visit P.O.W.E.R and all the sessions that they have on their designated dates and work. They have one coming up, actually. I don't even know if it's full, but I signed my daughter up for that one. Teaching them just how to prepare for just even success.
Yes, it starts on Thursday night. Is it the one through Ivy Tech?
Yes, every Thursday this month.
Yes, every Thursday this month, 6 to 8. And then the Bea Center is in Clarksville, right in front of Texas Roadhouse. They're bringing in someone from Ivy Tech who's going to walk the kids through. They get to tour the campus. They get to talk about college admissions, like things that I didn't think about when I was almost 13. And it will, by the time she gets there, it's going to be easy peasy, like no stress, because we got this. We've been practicing and we know what Ivy Tech looks like. So she's going to attach to, like, I don't know. We did the same thing when we toured U of L with my older son last year. He attached there and he's like, yay, go Cards. Like I've never been sorry, I'm a Boilermaker, but I've never been a huge Cardinal fan, but like he's all for it. But
Look,
he's
he's dividing the house. He's splitting the
right.
house. Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, that's all right. No, that's a good one. So definitely visit P.O.W.E.R. There's so many opportunities that are provided through that organization. And also recognizing that there is a male component as well through Men of Destiny. So you'll see MOD is the acronym, Men of Destiny, MOD. For young boys as well. So even Tisha's husband's branching out to share his expertise, his wisdom, education, and his resources in that area where he's worked in for years. So to lend that skill set to these young men is life changing as well.
It is. And it's so fun. They're doing some really fun things. My 9-year-old son went with them a month ago to fish, like hanging out with a bunch of dudes with a grill with a fishing pole. Like was his dream. It was wonderful. And it was just all about bonding. It was just very sweet. Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. So good. You have other ones that have helped support. So we've mentioned like even support groups that people gain through church, which are great support structures for us as we're raising our teens as well. And then other nonprofit organizations potentially. Do you have others that we can?
I don't know. Maybe you've heard of Olive Tree Resources. They're pretty fabulous.
Yes, Olive Tree. Yes.
They're fabulous. And really, I don't think the community even knows the capacity that you have to change the world. Dig into Olive Tree, folks. Go to their website. So much to do. There's so much going on. Plug in your teen there. Anybody you can find to build into your people that will make them better people.
Yes. Before we got on, we talked about, so even for us, and we got to get out of this is how we advocate for our teens, is to recognize that there is so many opportunities out here and that we're not in competition with each other. So we're going to bust that up. We're going to bust that up for even our young people to recognize that everybody is a solution in some way. That's been my theme for the whole year. You are a solution. I need the parents to look in the mirror tonight and say, I am a solution. Everybody has a piece of the puzzle and everybody has something to give. So you don't limit yourself to say, well, my kid is already in one youth organization and program. Awesome. Yes. But guess what? There may be other support structures that can help. When you look at some of these beautiful homes, even if you were to drive through Old Louisville here in Louisville, Kentucky, and you will see a lot of these structures were built with columns. You don't see one column. On a home, you just do not see one column. There's going to be at least 2 columns. Sometimes there's homes with 4 and 8, depending on the length and how the style of the structure is. And they're beautiful. So recognize there's other structures that can still help support your child, and it doesn't have to just be one structure.
Right.
Everyone lends their certain specialty. And that is a beautiful thing. And we have to help our young people understand that as well. So when we model that for them, that's when we get into advocacy again. We model it for them. We're not just saying it, but we model it. Then they're able to see as they're maturing and trying to figure out what they're going to do in life. They don't stay in this one bubble and think, oh, this is just it. They broaden their lenses of the world to say, look at all these opportunities.
Yeah.
These opportunities are available to assist me along the way in their own unique way. So parents, as we're advocating, allow yourself to expand your circle. And it may be for a reason. Everybody's heard this. It may be for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So
Right.
you may connect them with an organization, and it may just be for 1 year that they're with that organization and they move on
Right.
to something else. My daughter did gymnastics for years and she enjoyed it and she was good. But when she got to a certain age, she was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
I want to do something else. That is
Okay.
okay.
It
Let's shift.
is.
That's still, it's a transition. Let's
Yeah.
shift to the next. What in this season is going to help promote you and support you because I'm advocating for you and
Yes.
what your needs are. I
Yeah.
thought she was so good. I wanted her to continue, but that wouldn't be me supporting and advocating her doing
Right.
something she doesn't want to do anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, our daughter just started. Here's another good one. Over at Amped, she's always wanted to do voice. Like, well, I don't
Mm,
even know where to start with that. But it's the same thing. It's people who are building into your kids,
yeah.
telling them, "Oh my gosh, you have so much potential. Like,
Mhm.
you could be so amazing at this. Let's work together and hone this skill." That's exciting. It's exciting for her. It's exciting for me. And they're an amazing organization over at AMP.
Yes. Yes. You said AMPED. AMPED.
AMPED, I think their website is Amped Louisville, maybe. But
Okay.
they do,
We'll add some more. We'll add them. We'll
yeah,
add them to the comment section, so
perfect.
that will provide some resources for people to look into.
Yep.
And then also, if you're watching this, share some of your
Yes.
organizations that you've connected with, because we're just sharing resources that we use and have used and will continue to use, so that we'll all share that information there. I have some that I wrote down and I'm going to put them in the comment section. System of Care is one here locally. Ann Crothers does a really good job of connecting and making sure that young people have their needs met and that families who may even be in traumatic situations are served. And she has those connections to then connect them also
Right.
to the entities that will meet their need. So that's Systems of Care. I will make sure I put that in the comment section as well. Youth Camps of Southern Indiana, that's one here locally. I will put that in. Um, Also, let's continue to use the public library.
Oh, yeah. We've
Great
got the
resource.
best. Our library is amazing, you guys.
Use your public library.
Yeah,
Use your public library. Wherever you are in the world, get back into using your public library. That is very important for this time. And when we talk about even reclaiming our children's time, we may want to even model that, going to the library with them for just like an hour. If that's the only times you have, that's fine. Take 30 minutes, go with them to the library, and let them check out a book and things like that, so that they're reclaiming their time even from so much screen time,
right.
getting them into exploring different, resources as far as books, and other things that they have. They don't even have just books now. The library is so many things there.
It is. It's like, seriously, our library is, and the librarians at our library are so
Mhm.
knowledgeable
Yeah,
and so helpful.
yeah,
And
and they
I don't know
love what they do.
that everywhere, but man, the New Albany Library and the Galena branch of the New Albany Library, they're fabulous.
Mhm. Yes, yes. So really start to look into exploring your public library again. Let's support and get back into our public libraries. We can balance that out. We know technology is rapidly growing in its use, and it's a great tool for sure.
It is.
But we can balance out that and still utilize our public libraries in a
Well,
really
like, my
good
kids went to a Lego robotics camp at the public library, 3
way.
days, totally free, and it was wonderful,
Yes.
wonderful, run by
Yes.
our amazing librarians.
Hmm. Yes. A lot of programs there. So check that out. Go to your local public library's website. See what resources they have and programs that are currently available, workshops that you can plug your young person into. When I think about advocacy as well, as we conclude, and I'll let you share whatever you want to share. I'll give you time to think about any closing thoughts you want to share. But one thing that we want to do as we're advocating for our team is we want to allow them to share their voice. That
Mhm.
is very important. Let them share their voice, but at the same time, we're giving guidance. to them as they're sharing their voice. So encourage them to share, encourage them even when they don't, when they have those silent moments we talked about. There may be times that you do have to give them permission to speak with someone else.
Yeah.
And that may sound like, huh? But
Right.
we have to vocalize that because sometimes they'll feel like, my parent, doesn't really. I know when I was growing up, my mom would be like, if you share anything that's in my house, I'm gonna beat your tail. I used to get whoopings for sharing stuff. I'm like, but man, and I would be innocent. I mean, just innocently sharing it. She's like, I will whoop you if you share
Yeah.
something else in
Too
my
much
house.
information.
Yeah. So sometimes even when that's unspoken, there's a fear in our children of
Yes.
sharing. Even if you've never said that to your child. Like that was literally said to
Mhm.
me. And I literally got a whooping one time for sharing something at the babysitter's house that my mom was like, don't be sharing stuff in my house. So of course I had this stigma after that. Like I better not say anything. So it muted me.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is give our children permission
Mhm.
to share, even if it's not with us. Now, we of course we know we want it to be trusted sources. That's why,
Right.
to Darren's point, you build structures, whether it's people in your church, whether it's people in organizations that help you, that you build a family for them,
Yeah.
that you then feel comfortable whoever they go to because you've already vetted the family. Hey,
Yep.
perfect, perfect. Like right now, my daughter has specific people in her phone that I've literally sit with her and said, call and text,
Yeah.
I'm Matisa, or like I give her permission
Yeah.
to speak to these people that I made sure she had their numbers because I know there's times she's not going to talk to me, and that's
That's
okay.
good. That's
That
good.
is okay. It's like you got to tell them it's okay.
Yes.
It's okay,
Mhm.
and then you guide them like, yeah, this person. And do you have their number? Yes, ma'am. Okay, good. That's who you text. That's who you call if you feel this way or whatever.
That's good.
So that's a good way to advocate. You partnering with other people
Yeah.
who are going to help support them along the way, and they're going to listen to them. And you may have told them that. This is one more thing. I'm
Right.
sorry.
You're
Don't
right,
feel
and I know what you're gonna
offended.
say. You're right.
Yeah, don't feel offended. I've been telling them that for 2 years. Listen,
Right.
that is the cycle of life.
Right.
Honestly, I was like that. You were probably like, yeah, you're like, oh, here go my
Oh
parents. You
yeah.
didn't want to hear what they had to say.
No.
Someone else said it, and they were like the best person in the world. And if we're not careful as parents, we, just get like, we start feeling some kind of way.
Right.
Now, how are they listening to them and they're not listening to me? Or let's just say you send your children to counseling, which is a beautiful thing. Okay. If you need to do that, please do that. If you need to do that, find a good fit. I always tell people, find a good fit and then give your child permission to share with that person once you know that person is a good fit for your child. Um, Letting them open up and share that. And let's just say they start sharing with the counselor and then you start feeling some kind of way. Don't do that because then that mutes them again and it makes them
Mhm.
withdraw and they no longer want to share. And so you want them to keep their voice, especially if it's with trusted people that are not going to guide them
Right.
in a wrong direction. So I just want to encourage that because I know it happens. Um,
Yeah.
it is just a part of life. So if you can advocate for them to be in healthy spaces to share and not be offended by that, you're setting them up for success.
Because really, it's not about us at this point. It's about us getting them where they need to go.
Yes.
And man, that's tough. Put that pride aside, and I don't know. I think it's easier the older I get,
Mhm.
but it's still not easy. Like
Mhm.
I still want that great family picture. I don't want you to see all of our brokenness all the time.
Yeah.
But that's the reality is we are broken, and
Yes. Yes.
it's okay.
That is okay. That is
Yeah.
okay. It really is. And the beauty of that is when we're able to allow ourselves to not have the picture perfect scenarios that we've created, whether it was from television Our favorite show. Look, I always wanted the Huxtables.
Right?
I wanted to be the Huxtables. Okay, well, that wasn't real.
Fake. It's good though. That was
It
good
was
stuff.
good. It was good. And we gained some good little nuggets and principles from it. Look, we gained good principles from Little House on the Prairie. We gained great principles. My husband still watches Andy Griffith. He loves that show. But you can learn some stuff from Andy.
Yeah. It's true.
So there are certain shows that we watch growing up. Good Times. You know, I love some Good Times. I mean, just all those different shows that you look at and you will see different things and think you want to model specific things you pull from it. The Jeffersons, different ones. Then you get into real life and have your family.
Right.
And you recognize, oh wow.
Wow. We're more like the Simpsons. We're not the Huxtables. We're the Simpsons. Goals. Like,
no. Yeah. It's like, no, this is nothing like television. And, well, this is a whole nother podcast too, because I was thinking about like even marriage, how we watch all these movies and love shows and stuff. You know, look, I'm gonna be quiet, but yeah, no, it's work. It's a lot of work. We're talking about children. I'm gonna pull back in. Okay.
They're worth it. They're worth it.
Yes, advocating for our children is so important. And I'm gonna let you close out, and you can share whatever you would like to share to wrap up this topic for today. And it was a good one. We could probably go on into other things as well, but advocacy is important for our teens.
It is important. I think it starts with when they're little. Like and I had a friend who called me. I was not always good. Well, I'm still not always good at it, you guys. I'm not gonna lie. I am a work in progress. But it starts when they're little. When they get accused of something in Sunday school or whatever, you come to their side and you walk through it together. You don't always. When they're little, especially, I think it's easy to always assume, oh yeah, you probably did bite him. Oh yeah, you probably did smack him. But instead of digging into it, like, what made you feel like you needed to pull Josie's hair? Like, well, and then, well, I pulled her hair because she was getting ready to run into the bee, and I pulled her hair. This is a true story. My youngest one did it. Pulled her ponytail, pulled her straight to the ground, and so I run over and I'm like, why are you pulling her hair? And then my sweet friend, she's like, oh, now, little buddy, what made you do that? Well, he saw bee. He called her name. She didn't stop. And he thought in his little mind, I'm going to save her from the bee by whatever means necessary. And so he grabbed her ponytail and pulled her back. Probably not the best idea, but in his mind, he was saving her. So, but she was advocating for him, teaching me how to be a better mom, how to advocate for my kid by digging in, finding the roots of the problem, and then assuming positive intent. I don't know. Yeah. It's important. Assuming positive intent. Yeah. Wrapping it up. Thanks so much for April for having me here. It was fun.
Thank you. Great discussion. I really enjoyed it. And we'll add, when I get off, I'll add some more of those websites and entities in the comment section for people to view. And then those who are watching this on the replay, if you could share with us too, we would love to hear. You may be an individual who has an organization or a nonprofit that serves teens. If you could please put that in the comment section, we would love to have that information available for parents to explore. Thank you all again. We'll see you all next month. The first Tuesday of every month is when we have our Power Parenting sessions, and we are parents overcoming with wisdom, education, and resources. Until next time, we'll see you. Thank you. Stay safe.